What is up, guys? Today I come to you yet with another weekly review of Days, and we're at episode 8. And this episode has been an episode that we've been waiting for quite some time. We've been waiting for that matchup between Saku High and Seiseki, and it's being done at the preliminaries of the Inter High. Now, this is the final game at the preliminaries before the big championship games in the Inter High. So whoever wins this match, this final match, gets to move on and gets to go towards they're one step closer to winning the Inter High championship, and then the loser goes back home. And this is a big thing, especially for the third years, because in sports anime we have that thing where nobody really dies, but that is in we have this thing where it's that for the third years, like if they don't win the championship, they go home, they pack their bags and they go home. And then you start feeling sad because you start liking the third years and all the things that makes them so amazing to you. So the episode starts off where we're seeing a video about Saku High and what makes them such a strong school, a strong powerhouse of a soccer team. And basically they have 4 pillars of their soccer team, and these 4 pillars consist of the players of Kondo Ruka, who is the goalie and he's considered the fit beast, the fearless leader who's at defense with Kisaragi Taru. Of course, the heart of the team is being their captain Indo Karu, and then their top scorer being Narukami Shuji. Now, these 4 are the core and they're the pillar of Saku High, while the rest of the players can be like that wall. So basically to say, they don't have any weaknesses at this point, because you have 4 core players and then the rest of the players know their positions, so they do it in best to help the team secure many wins. But even though they have that, our team Seiseki has quite the remarkable players. And the coolest thing about these players is that each of them are, they represent their year group. So we have first, of course, we have Kazuma Jin, who has the speed and the skill, who's on the right. And we have, who's the first year, our second year player, who is Oshiba Keiichi, who has the height and the hold up play. And then we obviously have our favorable captain of all time, Mizuki Hito, who has both the power and the clinical finishing in order to secure that goal. So while they have their 4 pillars, we have the 3 legendary arrows of Seiseki. And each of them are, you have the first, second, and third year. So there are 3 generations worth of players on Seiseki's team. The most heartwarming part of this episode, I have to say, was where we got a little more into Tsukamoto's mother's personality and her character. Now, many people probably were very confused thinking that she was his sister, but she was introduced, but she was more in the background during the open ceremony of when Seiseki was opening up their school. And we saw where Tsukamoto was pushing his mother in her wheelchair to take a photo, in commencement of him entering high school. And then we haven't seen her again unless in the opening, but that is indeed his mother, not his sister. It would have made better sense if you said Sayuri was his sister, but actually the person in the wheelchair is his mother. And you can see where Tsukamoto got his personality from. More than likely he got his looks from his father, minus the rosy cheeks. But his mother is a very, you can say they are practically alike. They worry a lot, but they are very big-hearted. They care a lot about the people that surrounds them. And of course, his mother, being a warrior at some point, saw his phone was ringing. And she thinks her son is being bullied because she remembers the days of when he was in middle school and didn't have any friends. And he possibly was bullied in middle school. And she sees through his text messages, and then she sees that all the replies are telling him to rest, stay rested, don't overwork yourself, we have a big game tomorrow, just, compliments, and his friends just encouraging him to take it easy and rest. And it warms his mother's heart. And seeing, it reminds me back in episode, I believe it was episode 5 or 6, where Tsukamoto told Kimishita that he is only being raised by his mother, and while life isn't easy, he is truly happy. And when you connect that with this episode with his mother, it really hits you in the soft spot in your heart, because it's like his mother is disabled. It also signified in this episode that his father must have died when Tsukamoto was very young, but nonetheless you can see that he respected his father and he loved his father a lot. And to see that his mother, while she is disabled and there are many complications within their household, and life isn't always going to be the easiest for them, but the fact that he still is living a fulfilling and happy life, you have to say Tsukamoto really does respect his mother, and you have to respect him as a character. He can have many reasons to complain and be miserable with his life, but he doesn't let the negatives of life, come down on him. He rather sees the positive of life, and we've been seeing that constantly since the very first episode that we've seen him, since the very first time he's been introduced. And I have to say, Mama Tsukamoto, you have done a spectacular job at raising your son. Now we get to the point where now they're going to the match venue, the place where they are going to play their game, and there's a standoff, and it was like a very funny highlight of the episode, like, yo, you're embarrassing us and everybody's watching us, and there's like you have Seiseki on the left and then Saku High on the right. And the other funny part of this episode was like when Tsukamoto and Narukami was about to go onto the field to go and try to warm up with the team, they're stopped by the spectators because they're thinking they're children, and they had to convince them that we're players on the teams. But you can see that there's a friendly competition between both of them. They're very friendly towards one another, so possibility of them becoming friends in the future is very likely. And also the thing was about this episode is like we saw people talking trash about Seiseki, and I was getting like, you guys dare talk, and I bet you any money that none of you have even been in this team, and you're not even at the finals. You guys have gotten being a long time, and yet you're talking trash on how they haven't been to the national championship. And they're getting pumped up by Tsukamoto, Seiseki fight, and you're getting pumped up for this episode. And it ends with a cliffhanger where it says, the match is about to commence, and we have the two teams face off against each other. And it was like, that's a cliffhanger right there. So hopefully when we see this game, this game, hopefully, unlike the other games, we get to see actual plays happening. Of course they're going to talk and everything and, stray off the game, but I want to see more gameplays, because the way how that preview was showing, it's gonna be, I told you from the last review that it's gonna be Kazuma versus Narukami, and I really want to see that happen. That's gonna be the highlight of episode 9. I cannot wait for when that happens. So if you saw this week's episode of episode 8, please do tell me in the comment section below on how you felt it. What was your most favorite part of this week's episode? Are you anticipating for the matchup between Seiseki and Saku High in next week's episode? I would love to hear what you guys have to say. The links are in the description box, so you guys go check that out. And I'm Kimmy Chan of Anime Legends Podcast, and I will see you guys later. Bye!